What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about class skill trees. This is by far the most frequently asked question that I get on the channel, and I want to clarify this for you by going through every single class skill tree and giving you my 2 cents on every single skill tree and what I suggest you to build into. The biggest problem with the class skill tree is that once you use a skill point, it is permanent and you are stuck. There's only a few ways that you can actually reset your skill trees, and they're all going to either require monetized purchases or waiting for a skill reset pass, which Sega very rarely hands out to the player base. So you do need to be a bit careful and a bit informed when you do decide to make these skill trees. I'm going to use a skill reset pass, and we are going to go through every single class right now. I'm going to make the skill tree. I'm also going to have an imagery link down below to my suggested skill tree, and then I'm going to go through and explain a few really important skills in the tree. So here we are. I have a skill tree. All of these green skills is indicating a skill that I am going to put a point into. As you see, I still have a few skill points left over because I do want you to have some flexibility with your specific skill builds. So the most important skills that I have here are Flash Guard. This is a skill you can use as a main class or a subclass. This is just going to simply reduce the damage that you take. Iron Will is an absolute mandatory for a main class. It's going to make you invulnerable. Omnidirectional Guard is going to give you 360-degree guard. The most important skills you're also going to have here are Hunter Arts Avenger. This is the whole reason you are main classing Hunter. This increases your damage as you perfect counter with your skills. And we're going to take every single point down below with that so that you have the Hunter Art Avenger skills for swords, for wired lances, as well as partisans. Other than that, we're taking all of the skills we can for both sword, wire, and partisan. We're getting their extra attacks. We're going to get the guard counters for sword. We're going to get some extra abilities for wired lance, and we're going to also get the same for partisan. So if you're planning on playing a Hunter main class, this is a really good skill tree. If you were to optimize this skill tree for subclass, the only difference is that you're going to simply max out Flash Guard. So as you can see here, I'm only missing 1 point. I can easily make that a really good subclass skill tree by removing something out of like Warcry, or if I knew I wasn't going to play one or the other weapons, I could start removing skill points out of that. However, like I said, I think it's really important to have a good main class tree that can be utilized as a subclass tree. So something like this right here, if you wanted to push this to 14, there you go. You've used all 40 skill points. You have Flash Guard 14 out of 15. It's going to make you very tanky even as a subclass, but if it is a main class, you're even more tanky. And on to Fighter. Fighter is very similar to Hunter, where you can get most of the benefits while also having access to every single skill. This is my suggested skill tree. You're getting the really good class skill Overload for main class fighters. This is going to allow you to do extra damage. Putting a point into Overload Endurance makes it so that any incapacitating attack is going to leave you with 1 HP. So you're glass cannon, but you're not going to die with the use of this skill. You're going to also have skill points into every single weapon, so you can try all 3 fighter weapons with the skill tree. Plus you have the 3 skill points over here for fighter skip arts. This is going to allow you to change what your PA does. And then you also have same art skip attack and another art skip attack. So depending on how you combo your photon arts, you're going to be able to skip to a certain normal attack in your normal attack combo. This is leaving you with 5 skill points left over. So you can use this in a variety of ways. If you want to increase the short cycle, to increase the cooldown, or to decrease the cooldown of Overload so it's up even more often, you can. You could also go into Defeat PP Recovery. This is going to make it so during down phases, you're going to get some increased PP return. I personally don't find this too valuable. This to me isn't much. You could put 1 point into it just so you're getting some, you're getting another 30% or 10% if it's a subclass skill. The biggest thing you're getting here is the 10 points into defeat advantage. This is increasing the damage against downed enemies. This works as main class or subclass. So once again, this is a main class oriented skill page, but you're still getting the best subclass skill maxed out in this tree. If you were trying to go for a completely optimized subclass fighter skill tree, you would be going 10 points into defeat advantage and 15 points into defeat PP recovery. However, if you use all those points on defeat PP recovery, you're going to have to sacrifice one of the weapons down below and take all of those skill points to make that happen. I personally don't believe that that is important. I think a skill tree just like this is going to be really good for subclassing, but it's going to give you that flexibility to try every single fighter class weapon. Now on to Ranger, and this is the skill tree that I made a mistake on. So let me go ahead and build the tree and then I'll explain a little bit. This is the skill tree that I suggest. Now, if you want to leave a suggestion in the comment section down below, feel free to. I don't play much Ranger. So first and foremost, you need to max out blight rounds. This is one of the most important reasons for playing Ranger. This is going to target a specific spot on the enemy, and this is going to increase the damage that you do to that location. This is why Ranger is one of the best classes. We're also taking Reinforce. This is going to increase the damage as that spot is targeted. Also doing it for Launcher. So depending on if you want to play Rifle or Launcher, you have access to this skill. And then taking the wide range blight rounds so that you can use this skill to activate blight rounds on a bunch of enemies if you aren't just fighting a boss. We're taking Rifle Grenadier here. This is a really useful skill for rifle mains. This is really good DPS when you hold the weapon action button. But where I messed up on my skill page previously is I did not max out Rifle Grenadier quick reload. This is really important because when you successfully dodge with a weapon action, it reduces the cooldown for Rifle Grenadier. It just so happens that the cooldown for Rifle Grenadier right here is 30 seconds, and when you max this out, it reduces the cooldown by 30 seconds. So essentially, whenever you successfully dodge a skill with your weapon action, you're going to have access to this grenade. It does a bunch of damage. And on top of that, we're taking all the skills for Launcher as well. Now, if you don't plan on playing Launcher, obviously you can remove these. But once again, I do think it's really important to have access to every single weapon at the beginning so you can get an idea of what you really like and what you really dislike. Then later you can reset these pages and optimize them further. We're also taking Spread Shot here. This is another really strong damage dealing skill with your assault rifle. We're taking all of the skill bonuses with that as well. So what we're losing out on is maxing out Bad Condition Ward. This is going to make you more resistant to status ailments. However, with this skill tree, we have 50% status resistance as a main class and 75% as a subclass. Not terrible. You could max this out if you wanted to. What we're losing 10% as a main class and 15% as subclass. And then we're putting 1 point into Bad Condition Reduction. So if we were affected by status ailments, we're reducing the duration of that. So these are the two main subclass skills that you would put points into. So we are sacrificing quite a bit. However, I will mention that Ranger is rarely used as a subclass, so you really should be optimizing this skill tree for primarily a main class focus. And now on to Gunner. I'm going to recommend this as a Gunner skill tree. I would love it if some Gunner mains suggested some skill tree differences down below. There is quite a bit of fluctuation you could use with the skill tree. However, I'm going to go over the mandatory skills. You definitely need to get Chain Trigger. This is the whole core system behind the Gunner class. So with that, we're going to take every single additional skill that we can with Chain Trigger. Same thing for Stylish Roll. This is your weapon action that's going to allow you to do some extra damage and continually build up that chain. So we're going to take all of the points that we can with that as well. On top of that, I'm also taking Spread Shot and Spread Shot Quick Getaway. This is a rifle skill. However, the really cool thing about the Gunner skill tree and the Gunner main class, you also have main class damage with rifles. So a really good multi-weapon to do is twin machine guns with rifle. And then you have this as a very quick and instant activatable skill for some really fast damage before you pop right back into a twin machine gun and proceed on with the Chain Trigger skills. So where you're going to have a bit of trouble with your skill tree or the Gunner's skill tree and how to use your points is going to be these three skills here: Attack, PP Recovery, Overwhelm, and PP Preservation. And it's really going to come down as to how you plan on primarily using your skill tree. This PP Preservation skill is going to decrease the PP consumption cost whenever you chain different photon arts together. From all of my experience with the twin machine gun and the Gunner class, you are primarily using only one type of skill, so you might not be using this as much as you think. Putting 1 point into it, you're getting some consumption reduction. However, if you want to max this out, you're more than welcome to, and you have those skill points available to you. The other two skills here are the primary subclass skills. So if you want to make a stronger subclass skill tree, you could put points into attack, PP, recovery, or overwhelm. Attack, PP, recovery is just going to increase the PP recovery you have when you're attacking, and overwhelm is going to increase your PP recovery when you're attacking anything that is not a boss. So these two combined are going to give you a bunch of PP recovery on regular monsters, and then of course attack, PP, recovery is going to increase whenever you're fighting anything. So we're going to skip to the Braver skill tree for now. So here is my suggested skill tree for the Braver class. This is going to give you all of the skills for both the bow and the katana all the way through. And all you are missing out here is Breakfall HP gain, which is the subclass skill, and Resto Effect Amplifier. You're still getting some points into them, but you're not getting as much. All that the Braver subclass offers as a subclass is HP whenever you breakfall, and which isn't too significant, and then increasing the amount that you heal, which is pretty nice. Now, if we were to max this out, we're getting another 10% as a subclass. So if you find that valuable, you can find a way to add those points in. Now, for me, I don't play Bow Braver. I prefer to play Katana, so I'm going to change the skill tree to how I really want it to look. But this skill tree right here is going to allow you to play both Katana and Bow without losing any of the skills. And if you still wanted to make this a subclass, you could, and you're still getting some of that HP return benefits from this being a subclass. And now on to Waker. Let me finish this page and explain myself. Here is the skill tree that I would suggest for the Waker class. I still have 5 skill points left over that you can use wherever you want to, but going through, we have all but 1 skill point. I'll put that there and I'll explain that in a little bit, but we have all of the skill points, so you're going to have access to every single skill and all of their benefits. Why I don't put a point into Linear Drive Encore down below, it allows you to do an additional dash after using any skill. I find that 1 dash is plenty for me. However, if you do find that you need a second dash, go ahead and put the point there. That, in my opinion, is optional, but go ahead and take it now so you have it. I wouldn't want you guys later on feeling like you need it. So that would leave you with 4 points left. So we have 10 points into Retro Friends Rescue. This is really huge. Basically, this is a subclass skill as well. When your HP drops below a certain level, you have a chance of recovering that HP, recovering some HP back. That's really big. Also, Welfare Management. It reduces the damage taken when your HP drops below a certain percentage. We're maxing out both of those. Those are very useful. With that, we are sacrificing some points into Resto Effect and Lucky Sign. So Resto Effect, basically when you use a Resticin, it's going to reduce the amount that you get, but you're going to recover some over time. This is a skill, it's really going to come down to a case-by-case basis if you like this or not. I'm personally a bigger fan of making sure I get my heal out right away and don't really care about the heal over time. I want to make sure that I'm topped off on HP just so that nothing will one-shot me. And then Lucky Sign, we're going to keep at 1. This is going to give you a chance to not consume your Resticin or Reversicin upon using it. We get 10% with 1 skill point use, and if every skill point after that, we're getting 3 to 2%. So it goes up to 20%, but you're wasting 4 skill points for only 10%. So just keep that at 1. You have a chance of that activating. If it activates, great. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. So this is going to leave you with 4 points. Probably going to just put those into Resto Effect Continuance, just so you're getting some heal over time while also maintaining a pretty sizable Resta heal up front. And now onto the 3 tech-based classes. And the reason why I saved these for last, I'm going to show you here. We all have all of the elemental skills here, and we have those for all 3 classes. You have them for Force, you have them for Techter, and you also have them for Bouncer. So what you're going to run into is that you don't need these skills on both a main class or a subclass skill tree. You only need them on 1 skill tree. So what I am going to suggest to you all is to put those points on the Force skill tree. And the reason being, Force is one of the greatest subclass skill trees, And so you will always have these elemental skills available to you, since most of the time you're going to be running Force as a subclass. Let me finish my skill tree and then I'll explain my thoughts. All right, here is my Force skill tree. I have all of the points into the rod weapon. I have none into the Talus weapon. I will get to that in a minute. But basically, we are maxing out on all of those rod skills. We have all of the elemental skill bonuses in this tree, since this is going to be useful for any other class that we want to use that has access to elemental skills. What we are doing here is we are maxing out eradication PP gain. This is why Force is one of the best subclasses, because when you are training in combat sectors and you are fighting a bunch of monsters and defeating them, this skill is going to give you 5% of your PP back every time an enemy is defeated. It's going to allow you to literally spam skills, and you're never going to have to worry about recovering PP in any other way. But if you do need to recover PP, you're going to have access to PP conversion. This is an activatable skill for main class and subclass, and this is going to skyrocket your natural PP recovery speed. 4 times as fast if you're subclass, 6 times as fast if you're a main class Force at level 1. So we're going to take a point into that. We're also going to take a point into PP conversion increase. This is going to give you 2 stocks of the skill, so you could use them one after another. These skills last for 30 seconds, so you could have this for a whole minute if you wanted this natural PP recovery. We're going to take 10 points into PP recovery boost. This is going to give us some natural PP recovery. This additional PP recovery boost, when paired with PP conversion, now you're increasing that PP recovery even more, because it's not just 400, it's another 50% increase on top of that. Now, the reason why I'm not putting any Talus points here is because you have the ability to put Talus points in the Techter skill tree as well. That's why I was saying these 3 skill trees can get really finicky really quick, depending on what weapon you want to play. And on to Techter. Let me finish the tree real quick. And here is that skill tree. I am putting a point into Shifted D-Band. This is the most important skill you have as a Techter. This is an AoE buff for your entire team. And we're going to take every single point that we can into the Shifted D-Band skill tree. We're also going to put 10 points into Weak Element Amplifier and Awake Ale. These are your subclass bonuses. This is going to increase the Photon Blast accumulation when you're fighting bosses. And if you are using elemental based classes, if the element skill that you're attacking with matches the weakness of the enemy, it's going to increase your Photon Blast gauge build up even quicker. We're not taking any of those elemental skills, since we already did in the Force skill tree. And honestly, if you're playing any of the tech classes, you're going to be running Force as a subclass. So we already have these covered because of the Force class. Down here, we're going to take every single point we can into the Wand weapon so we can play the Wand class. And we're also going to take all the skills into the Talus weapon so we can play the Talus weapon as well. So basically, this skill tree is accommodating what we left out on the Force skill tree and vice versa. Now, if you wanted to play Talus as a Force main, you can do that. All you're going to do is you're going to remove these. You're going to remove these skills, and you would be putting those points into the elemental skills. And then on your Force skill tree, you would remove those points and you would put them into the Talus skills. That's what you would have to do. But that's going to be a case-by-case basis. However, how I'm setting up these skills, I really suggest doing this first. Like I said, Force is going to always be used as a subclass, so not having to worry about what class has these elemental skills is going to be a lifesaver when you're playing all of these classes. And finally, we're going to finish up with Bouncer. And here is that skill tree. Once again, we're not using any of these elemental points, since we will just simply plan on using Force as a subclass if we are to use the elemental based weapon, which is the Jet Boot. We're getting a point into Defeat PP gain. This is a wonderful main class skill. Whenever you defeat an enemy, you're just going to get 50% of your PP back. We're taking 11 points out of 15 into Defeat Amplifier. This is going to increase the down factor that we apply to enemies. We're going to take 5 points into Partial Destroy Advantage. This means every time we destroy a part on an enemy, we're going to increase our attack, we're going to decrease the damage done to us, and that can stack up to 3 times. This is really good depending on the enemies that you're fighting. We're also going to take a point into Physical and Elemental Decline. This is going to further increase the elemental or physical down factor that we can apply to an enemy. This is a main class skill. And then we're going to take Decline Amplifier, which is going to increase the physical and elemental down factor that we can apply. This page is really unique because you have one weapon that can apply elemental damage and you have the other weapon that can apply physical damage. However, we've taken all of the skills for the Soaring Blades, which is the physical weapon, and we've still taken all of the points for the Jet Boot, which is the elemental weapon. The only thing that we're really missing out on here is maxing out Defeat Amplifier. Bouncer is by far one of the best subclasses you can have due to these two skills right here. Defeat Amplifier is always helping you no matter what class, no matter what potency type you're running. It's just adding additional down factor that's going to speed up the rate at which you will see those downs, and downs are free damage. And then Partial Destroy Advantage. This is just giving you extra damage if you destroy body parts on the enemy. So these two are really good, but we're going to lose 4 points. That's not the end of the world. What are we losing? We're losing 4% down factor increase. That's not the end of the world. And by doing that, we're going to have the ability to play the Jet Boot at its optimal level, as well as the Soaring Blade at its optimal level. And we're going to have all of the main skills that make them really pop off. And there you go. We have successfully completed all of the skill trees. We have them locked in. These are going to allow you to play every single weapon that you desire at a very high capacity. You're not going to be missing any skills. You might be losing just a little bit of performance from a subclass perspective, but it's not make or break. The damage difference is not going to be noticeable. So go ahead, use these skill pages. If you have any questions about any of the decisions that I've made, you're more than welcome to ask in the comment section down below, or come and join our Discord. We have a class discussions channel that you can ask away any questions, and I guarantee somebody way more knowledgeable than me in some of these classes will get back to you and help you out even further. I've been having an absolute blast making all these videos for you new PlayStation players, so please do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video to anybody you feel would benefit from this information. As always, guys, thank you so much for the continued support, and I'll see you all in the next video real soon.